What's going on, guys, and welcome back to another episode of the German Bear Podcast. And today we got the game preview of the matchup between the Chicago Bears and the New York Giants. And first and foremost, I'm so excited for this game. As for the general info, it will be played at MetLife Sunday, October 2nd, 12 p.m. Central Time. Two teams that are at 2-1 at the moment. One of them will fall to 2-2. One will advance to 3-1, obviously. And I mean, overall, very even matchup in my opinion. We got two teams that go through the running game on offense and struggle so far passing the football. Offensive line was doing great for both teams in the run game. Both offensive lines struggle against the pass rush. So this is a kind of a similarity. On defense, they're a bit different with different systems. But overall, I think they're in a pretty similar situation. Both teams have strengths and weaknesses that you can attack. As for today, in today's episode, we want to go over the typical four quarters that I have in my preview shows. But as always, let's start off with the injury report right away. And it's pretty long for both teams, to be honest. Starting off with the Bears. The Bears are adding some players on Thursday's practice to the injury list with Robert Quinn. He's dealing with an illness. And then also my man Cairo Santos, kicker, is dealing with some personal stuff. He did not participate. As for the other non-participants of practice, I think the most interesting ones are David Montgomery. He did not practice for the second day in a row. And also Jalen Johnson. He will probably be a key player if he misses out on that game, and it for sure looks like it at the moment. He's still dealing with some quad issues. And also Matthew Adams, linebacker, will be missed in the game as well, in my opinion. As for the players that stay limited in practice, Velus Jones Jr. has been limited for 2 days in a row now, so he's getting some practices in there. Love to see that. Maybe he makes his debut, NFL debut, against the Giants on Sunday. Will be definitely cool to see. And also star linebacker Roquan Smith is still dealing with a quad injury, limited in both practices, but I definitely see him playing in that game, no doubt. As for the New York Giants, it's not looking any better. I mean, they have 3 wide receivers that did not participate 2 days in a row, including Kadarius Toney, their most explosive wide receiver. Sterling Shepard is listed on there, but he's out for the season with a torn ACL, with that just jogging out at the end of that Cowboys game. Very unfortunate to see. And then also rookie Wan'Dale Robinson will also not play against the Bears, so that's obviously a huge break for a also weakened Bears secondary, with Jalen Johnson probably being out. So that's a break for the Bears right there. As for their cornerback situation, they're also missing 2 cornerbacks, in Nick McCloud and cornerback rookie Cordell Flott. He did not participate 2 days in a row as well. And then they probably will miss also Leonard Williams, pretty damn good run stuffer for them with a knee issue. He didn't participate for 2 days as well. So lots of injuries coming into that game. I think the Giants have the more significant ones, because I think Roquan Smith, Robert Quinn, and Cairo Santos will all play for the Bears. And also it looks like Velus Jones Jr. might make his debut, but obviously the Bears missed some key players in there as well. And with that being said, let's move on to the first quarter of this preview show, which is the upcoming opponent. And starting off with the Giants, obviously overall they're 2-1 at the moment, second in the NFC East. And overall this offseason they had lots of things going on. I mean, they obviously, like the Bears, went through a coaching change, signed Brian Daboll as their head coach, which was an excellent decision, in my opinion, former OC by the Bills. And he was also in heavy talks with the Bears in there as well. Lots of people wanted him as the head coach over Matt Eberflus. And then as a new GM, they also signed someone from the Bills, Joe Schoen, who's a really damn good GM so far, made some great decisions in the draft that we want to talk about shortly as well. And then as for the staff for Brian Daboll, I think it's an excellent one as well. OC Mike Kafka calls the plays for the Giants. He's a damn good offensive mind, but he's coming from the Kansas City Chiefs coaching tree. I think he was in talks with the Bears as a OC at some point in Nagy's tenure as well, if I'm not mistaken. And then DC, they have Wink Martindale, which is an excellent defensive coordinator that was with the Ravens before, brings lots of heavy blitz packages. He loves to do that, and that will be super interesting for Chicago, especially Justin Fields, how he can overcome these heavy blitz loads and how he can work against them. So that will be interesting overall. As for their free agency in 2022, nothing too much happened. I mean, the biggest loss for them was probably James Bradbury. Cornerback went to the division rivals, the Philadelphia Eagles. He was a pretty big part of their secondary, and they're kind of struggling with that second cornerback spot next to Dory Jackson at the moment. So that was definitely a loss for them. And And then also outside linebacker Lorenzo Carter went to Atlanta, was a good rotational rusher for them. And also Jabril Peppers signed with New England, but some minor losses, nothing too big. Also Austin Johnson, defensive tackle to the Chargers, in there as well. As for their signings in the offseason, nothing too crazy. Similar to the Bears situation, not too much money to spend. They went with Mark Lewinsky from the Colts. He was a pretty damn solid player for them just to beef up the interior offensive line. Nothing too outstanding, but a solid role player or starting player for them right there. And they also signed Tyrod Taylor, quarterback veteran, really good backup to have in this league. Really like him. And then they also added some more offensive linemen in John Feliciano, for example, which is good to beef up the offensive line once again, but nothing too incredible during the 2022 offseason for them. But where it really gets interesting for me is the draft for them. I think Joe Schoen did an excellent job drafting his first year. I think there were some picks that even Giants fans would agree that they were questionable in there too, like Cordell Flott already in the third. But I mean, overall, they did a great job. First two picks absolutely nailed them. Started off with Evan Neal, probably a franchise tackle for them. He has struggled so far through 3 weeks. We will talk about him later as well. But overall, he has all the tools in the world to become a world-class tackle in the NFL. And then they later on in the first round selected Kayvon Thibodeau, one of the best edge rushers coming out of the draft this year. And he's just a physical monster. He can do great things for them. He was limited so far during the season, only appeared in the Cowboys game. But I mean, as soon as he gains some ground in the NFL, I think he will be a dangerous player, and he definitely looks for his first sack against the Bears in his young NFL career. They also got Wan'Dale Robinson in round 2. Obviously, he will be injured and probably won't play against the Bears, but he's a talented player. And then Cordell Flott will miss the Bears game probably too, so we won't see him. He was selected in the 3rd round. Also, round 3, they got Joshua Ezeudu, pretty talented guard right there for them. And also in round 4, added now their starting tight end in Daniel Bellinger, round 4 tight end. I think he's pretty good. He made some plays for them here and there. He's talented, and they definitely got something in him at the tight end position, in my opinion, as well. And then they also added on with Dane Belton, a good safety, and with the later picks got Micah McFadden and DJ Davidson, but nothing too crazy to round out that draft. So overall, I think they did a great job with limited cap space to just add some talent to the roster. Really got some generational talents you could think of with Evan Neal and Kayvon Thibodeau if they develop correctly for them. So I really like what they did so far, like their coaching staff, and this is definitely an interesting team to play in week 4. And with that being said, let's actually move on to quarter number 2, which is the team comparison. And with the team comparison, we want to look at the matchups for the game, starting off with the Bears offense against the Giants defense, starting off running backs and tight ends against their linebackers. I mean, it's David Montgomery, Khalil Herbert, Tristan Ebner. Obviously, David Montgomery got hurt against the Texans. Maybe he plays, but I think there's not a big chance that he does. I mean, overall, he did not practice so far, and I don't expect him to practice on Friday either. So it will be the Khalil Herbert show, Tristan Ebner as a backup, but I think those are two really good running backs to have, and Khalil Herbert just exploded against the Texans, so I trust him to have another good performance against the Giants. And overall, I would give this matchup to the Bears. In general, just running backs and tight ends against the linebackers. I think Cole Kmet had a really good game blocking against the Texans, caught some important footballs, so he's trending upwards as well. And they're playing against Tay Crowder, Austin Calitro, Micah McFadden, Carter Coughlin. I wouldn't say it's the strongest linebacking group. The Giants allowed lots of rush yards so far this season, so let's see how the Bears can use that as their advantage. But I think overall I would give definitely the matchup between the running backs and tight ends against the linebackers to the Chicago Bears, but obviously they can pick them up with safeties and other things as well. Just in this specific matchup, it's the Bears for me. As for our wide receivers against their defensive backs, for me overall that's even. I think they got a pretty damn good cornerback one in Adoree Jackson, who's super talented, but then for them it's really just thin as their depth goes deeper and deeper. Fabian Moreau is nothing too much of a big name. Darnell Holmes, Justin Lane, it's Nick McLeod. Like, it's nothing too incredible right there. As for the Bears wide receiver depth, I think it's pretty solid. Quinemius St. Brown has been outstanding so far as a very cheap addition in free agency. Also, Velus Jones Jr. might see his first action of the year. Amir Smith-Marset has some talent, and also Dante Pettis has been really surprising for me so far this season as well. So I'd take the even. I think Adoree Jackson will do a good job overall. against Mooney, maybe even. But overall, I like the depth of the Bears wide receiver over the depth of the cornerbacks for the Giants, so I give it even in that matchup. As for the Bears offensive line against the defensive line of the Giants, I think this one is even too. The Bears offensive line really improved over the last couple of weeks now. In the run game, they're really dominant and dominated against some good throws. We're talking about the 49ers front. We're talking about the front seven of the Green Bay Packers, both really top units in the league, and they showed that they can dominate those. So, I mean, the Giants got a pretty damn good defensive line, but in the run game, I still think the Bears will show some good things. As for the Bears offense against the Giants rush in the pass game, I think the offensive line will still continue to struggle with the tackle positions, inexperience right there, and I think these pass rushers, young pass rushers for the Giants, are just hungry and will make some plays there. So this is also even for me. So you see overall a very even matchup, I think, in my opinion. And then we have the quarterback versus the defense. Justin Fields against the Giants defense. I give this one to the Giants right away. Simple reason, he just hasn't played well so far this season. And I think the Giants will give him lots of different blitz packages that will really confuse him in some situations, and they want to force some mistakes on him. I still think Justin Fields will have a good game, and hopefully he proves me wrong. But after the performance against the Texans, he did not look too comfortable in the offense so far. So if the Bears offense is not clicking with him in there, I think the Giants have the upper hand at the moment. So let's see how Justin Fields responds. Hopefully he does great against the Giants, but overall I think the defense will give him some really interesting looks. As for the Bears defense against the offense of the Giants, first of all, defensive line against the O-line of the Giants, I think this one goes to the Bears for me. They got Andrew Thomas, which is an absolute baller for them. Great tackle. I think nothing too much will go on his side of the football or on his side of the offensive line, honestly, because he's locking down opponents left and right. Brian Burns, some good rushers in there, but Dupree as well against the Titans. So he's doing really well, and Robert Quinn will have a tough matchup. But the Bears got a really good rotation for the edge rushers overall, and the interior is pretty good too. I really like Justin Jones, and I think the weakness for them at the offensive line is the interior, but also Evan Neal struggled against obviously DeMarcus Lawrence and Micah Parsons. But I think when you mix it up nicely and bring in fresh edge rushers every third, fourth down, I think you can really create some pressure and force the rookie for some mistakes. So the defensive line, I take them over the O-line in this matchup. As for the linebackers against the running backs and tight ends of the Giants, I give this one to the Giants. This might be controversial, and Roquan Smith had one heck of a performance against the Texans. I expect him to play good, but overall, running backs and tight ends for the Giants, we're talking about Saquon Barkley, who looks like his former self, absolutely incredible player. He's explosive, and then also, I think Daniel Bellinger, like I said, is a pretty talented player. But overall, I say Giants because nobody really could stop Saquon Barkley so far this season. And the Bears struggled against the run, the different types of linebackers as well. Joe Thomas now plays for Matthew Adams. Nicholas Morrow has been solid. But overall, I think the Giants will still be able to run the ball well against the Bears. So I take them over there as well. But I think still Roquan Smith will have a good game as always, or mostly always. As for the defensive backs of the Bears against the wide receivers, this one for me is tough. I could have been an even, but by the end of the day, I give it to the Bears because of the safeties. They got some good wide receivers. Kenny Golladay underperformed so far for them, but I really like Darius Slayton. Richie James is not bad. David Sills. But overall, the Bears have been showing some good stuff so far. I really liked how Kindle Vildor developed so far. I still believe in Kyler Gordon, even though a lot of people are giving up on him already. And like I said, the safety duo is really the thing that catches on with me. Eddie Jackson looks like his former self, tackles well, one of the better tacklers for 2 weeks in a row now against the Packers and the Texans. I love what he's doing, and he's getting turnovers. 2 interceptions on a year already, love it. And then Jaquan Brisker is all over the field, tackles well, covers well against the tight ends. I mean, he's absolutely incredible, so I give the Bears the edge in that matchup. As for the opposing quarterback against the Bears, I mean, defensive coordinator said it. Alan Williams said it. He said they want to bring some different packages at Daniel Jones, and Daniel Jones didn't have a lot of time so far throwing the football. He has been good running it, but overall, I'd take the Bears defense over Daniel Jones. I think both quarterbacks, it will just come down to who makes the least amount of mistakes in that game. That quarterback, that team will actually win. And like I said, take the Bears defense over Daniel Jones. I think that will give him some good looks and will play overall well as well because Matt Eberflus coaches them hard Allen Williams too, and they're just going to be okay against the Giants, I think, in my opinion. And with that being said, that is the breakdown of the matchups for me. Like I said, overall a pretty even game, and it's just coming down to the last little mistakes in that game. So it will be really interesting and close in my opinion. And with that, let's move on to the third quarter, which is the keys to victory. And my two keys on offense, first of all, will be just number one, keep doing what works for you, which for me means the running attack. The O-line is doing better in those plays. They really get a good push out of it. Khalil Herbert has been doing great so far. And then also Justin Fields with his legs really got some things going. So I think keep pounding the football and open up the game with some play action, not rollouts. Play action plays overall should still work, but just not the rollouts. And then also some quick passes as well, which leads me to key number two. Get Justin Fields in rhythm. Justin has to step up. He has to limit his mistakes. Don't throw the interceptions that you threw against the Texans, and then just give him quick little dump offs, quick little completions to get him comfortable, and then take some deeper shots, get some chunk plays in there. I really think he's able to do that. As for the defense, first of all, attack the offensive line with different looks and attack Evan Neal. Neal struggled against the Cowboys. We don't have the same firepower as the Cowboys, the same speed. But overall, I think you can still attack him, attack the interior, and give them different looks with edge rushers lining up against the guards. Give them one-on-ones against them, and then just see what works for you. As for key number two would be just simply stop the run. They have to be aware of Saquon Barkley, of Daniel Jones. They have some really good rushers in there, the Giants, so they have to stop the run heavily, and then they will have a chance to win that game. Overall, it's just a real trenches battle. Whichever trench is better wins the game at the end of the day, in my opinion. So this will be key for the Bears defense to stop the Giants offense. And with that being said, that already leads me to quarter number 4, which is my predictions. And my predictions for this game will be pretty simple. Score for me will be 24-21 for the Bears. They get a win, close win, and really close game overall, I think, as well. I don't think it will be a high scoring game. It should be in the lower numbers, so I went with 24-21. It should not be a true defensive battle, but just, like I said, a trenches battle that comes down to the mistakes by the quarterbacks or just overall mistakes by the team. So for the Bears, it's just, once again, execution on the field, execute the plays that Luke Getsy gives you. There are players open, but we just need to find them or give Justin enough time to find them. So let's see how that works for the Bears. As for my prediction for the MVPs, offense for me probably will be Khalil Herbert. He showed so much against the Texans, and hopefully he can continue that trend, but he's looked incredible. And whenever he stepped on the football field for the Bears last year when David Montgomery was out, he performed. This year he already performed as well. Outstanding player. I expect him to have a good game. As for the defense, I expect Roquan Smith to ball out once again. The guy's just hungry. It seems like he's finally found his footing into the 2022 season with missing all of the practices at training camp. So he looks like his former self, and I expect him to have a big game. Behind that defensive line of the Bears, they should open up the gaps, and then Roquan Smith should be there to make a lot of tackles. As for special teams, I just project Cairo Santos to have another good game, hit every field goal and extra point last week, so he should continue with that trend as well. So with that being said, that's already the end of the preview, guys. I hope you've enjoyed it. Definitely let me know your scoring predictions in the comments down below. I think, like I said, it will be an incredible, nice game. Really excited and looking forward for this one. So let's see how the Bears actually perform. And with that being said, like and subscribe if you liked the video. Check out Instagram and Twitter if you want to as well. And as always, guys, bear down.